Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and as always, welcome back to yet another Mortal Kombat video. Today with another installment in my Mortal Kombat Across the Multiverse series, where we do a deep dive lore retrospective of your favourite characters from the mythos, but unlike how we've ever tackled them before. Because whilst we typically analyse and break down the origins of characters within the main canon, today we're going to be broadening our horizons and transcending beyond that, to explore them through spin-off installments, movies and TV shows, giving you all a better well-rounded retrospective of how the character has changed from medium to medium and evolved from installments to installments. So today, with us having covered the iconic male ninjas of the franchise, I figured that it would finally be time to take a crack at the Edenian pantheon of ninjas. Starting with the daughter of King Jared and Empress Sindel, the former Khanum of Outworld, Kitana. A pivotal figurehead in the series whose significance can really not be understated. But how does that reflect in the expanded media and canon? Well, that is what we will be exploring in today's deep dive retrospective of the princess. But as always, just before we do begin, quick disclaimer. To prevent any whiplash or you guys jumping in a glass half full, I do strongly recommend checking out the history of Kitana beforehand, as it serves as a baseline for which this video kind of branches from. So if you want to have the full experience, please do give that video a watch beforehand. And as always, a quick reminder here that if you're enjoying this series and do wish to see more, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It's a small thing, but it really does go a long way in helping the channel, especially in that damn awful algorithm. Anyway, let's delve right into things. First starting with a fan-beloved game of the franchise, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. And in this particular installment, Kitana does largely play a side character role, being very touch and go for the most part, but still quite significant to the main plot. And with this game being a soft retelling of Mortal Kombat 2, as a second tournament isn't really present during this timeline, she would encounter Liu Kang and Kung Lao by other means. Now this iteration of Kitana does for the most part have the same origin and background, where Edenia has fallen and both King Jared and Queen Sindel are dead. Yet, arguably the most significant changes here is her time, relationship and service under Shao Kahn. Because when we do encounter her, she is a devoted zealot of the Emperor, mentally brainwashed under his will to kill and fight for him. Thus, when she first encounters the Shaolin, she would attack them. But with even immortality on her side, her skills will not be enough to stop them, as she's forced to retreat to the Outworld, licking her wounds. Needing her help, the two would track her down once more, but this time she would be a bit prepared, joined by the likes of Melina and Jade in this battle. And during this chaos, once the Khan's possession was purged by a magical idol, Kitana's finally able to salvage her memories and gather her senses once more, realizing what she's done under Shao's control. And whilst grateful for her salvation, Kitana can't help but be quite bitter that it took the death of her friend for such a thing to occur. So seeking answers, she would actively hunt down her sister Melina, swearing vengeance against her and the Emperor. From this point onwards, Kitana would play a very minor role in the game, featuring in a very brief skirmish with her sister. And once she escapes, we do actually learn the nature and relationship with her twin. That Melina is indeed a homunculi demented abomination, bloodthirsty to ruin her image and claim her throne. So Kitana would need to hunt her down before she could get to their father, departing from the Shaolin once more. We don't really see what happens beyond this point, but knowing the events of how MK2 does pan out, it is believed that Kitana did kill her sister, making her last appearance in the climax of the game following Shao's defeat. No longer tied nor bound to the Emperor, Kitana would claim her birthright to Outworld's throne and restore Edenia back to its golden age. In her victory, she would express her gratitude to the Shaolin, where an ever so brief spark of romance does flicker between her and Liu Kang. Sadly though, with this being the one and only installment in this timeline, this is currently the conclusion to what we know of this Kitana. Now moving along, we do actually have a mainline non-canonical installment, the infamous Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe, the 8th game in the saga, which canonically begins just after the events of MK3, meaning that the restoration of Edenia was indeed successful, as we also do see a very weakened Shao Kahn in the game's opening. having been crippled from his physical defeat by the hands of Liu Kang, and this Eden of swords peeled from his snare. So within the game's opening, Shao is reeling in his defeat. As punishment for lifetimes of heinous acts against Earthrealm, its guardian Raiden would attack the Conqueror, shocking him and sending him back through a portal to Outworld. At least, so he had thought. In actuality, the lightning caused a surge and clash within the portal itself. One that just so perfectly happened to open up and mix with a boon tube on another side of reality. With these portals effectively serving as gateways between both worlds, it would slowly but surely cause them to collide and terraform with one another. And with the friction between their realities combining and joining as one, people across all of the realms just started to randomly erase and phase out. Because of this, Kitana would travel to the Wuxi Academy and share a friendly, flirtatious moment with Liu Kang, before then revealing the true purpose of her visit. That her fellow Edenians have suddenly started disappearing, and she had no answers as to why, believing that maybe the Mortal Kombat champion would be the one that held the answers. However, she would also find that the Wuxi was suffering from similar losses. Believing that the Lin Kuei or the Black Dragons may be the main culprits behind this, the two would set off with both trying to hunt down answers. And once Kitana returns back to her home, both Edenia and Outworld would fall into greater ruin, because Dark Khan, the merge of Darkseid and Shao Kahn, would lay claim to both of these worlds by merging it with Apocalypse. By inflicting the Edenians with the madness known as Rage, they would lash out at each other in an endless slaughter, with Kitana even killing one of her sisters. And due to a time in Edenia, Kitana would be one of the first Mortal Kombat combatants to lay their eyes on Dark Khan and fall to his mindless rage, as she's largely absent during the game's story, and when we do encounter her, it's only as an enemy engulfed by the rage, battling the likes of Wonder Woman and later Scorpion, before she's then finally restrained, enchanted by the magics of Quan Chi in order to hold her steady. Due to the dire nature of things, Kitana is actually used by Quan Chi as a bargaining chip to unite with the Earthrealm defenders, something that the princess actually agrees to, as she's able to reveal the identity of Dark Khan and his purpose. With time no longer on their side, and the curtains of their reality quickly falling to ruin, Kitana would join her allies in one final stand against what she believed to be the acolytes and generals of Dark Khan. And upon the Eater of Worlds revealing his identity once more, they would all be inflicted with rage once again. Now Kitana would only be freed of Dark Khan's influence once he's defeated by either the hands of Superman or Raiden, depending on the player's choice. But with his end, both worlds would be restored. Yet in Kitana's own arcade ladder ending, we do learn that in the restoration of the realms, Edenia would actually be lost. And with the scattered fragments of her people forced to reside in Outworld, Raiden would actually grant her the remains of Shang Tsung's island in order to rebuild a new utopia, a new home for the Edenians, dubbed now as the Island of Argus, clearly influenced and a homage to Themyscira. So this being the one and only installment in this particular timeline, we don't know how canonically true this arcade ladder ending is, but it's still worth mentioning here in the fall of this Kitana's story. Now with spin-off games out the way, this does bring us on to the fan-beloved 95 movie. And in terms of origins and background here, things do largely seem to be the same for the character, with the only real distinct change being that she's been plotting against the Emperor far before the events of the 95 movie, merely serving under Shao in Outworld's tournament until she can find the right champion that can overthrow him. Thus, this now takes us onto the events of the movie itself, where she is first seen once the Earthrealm defenders arrive on the island, sharing an interested and prolonged glance with Liu Kang before he proceeds to the honorary feast. But such as there would be noticed by the tournament's host, Shang Tsung, whom at this point has grown quite suspicious of the princess's loyalty, giving her a demeaning look, or then also proceeding to the tournament. Following this point, Kitana does largely serve as a sketchy, elusive figure, with Liu Kang completely infatuated by her and chasing her throughout the island. This does all, of course, lead up to their inevitable confrontation in the tournament, but this fight is more of a dance than anything else, something that the princess uses in order to test the skill of Liu Kang. Wanting the Earth Realmers to succeed, she would concede to the Shaolin, but not before bestowing some words of knowledge upon him, saying to use the element that gives life. And these words would really carry some weight going into his next confrontation against the Cryomancer Sub-Zero. By seeing her during the fight, he's reminded of her words, and uses a bucket of water in order to freeze the Ice Ninja, guaranteeing his placement in the finals. But with the situation having grown increasingly dire for Outworld, Shang Tsung would be forced to kidnap Sonya Blade, and drags her to Outworld in order to force her to concede, claiming the tournament victory in his name. Now of course, this is designed to draw out Johnny Cage and Liu Kang, but it's here where Kitana's presence is really felt, as she serves as their guide to his domain, and expresses her disgust at the sorcerer before Liu Kang begins the final fight, defeating the host and halting off Outworld's invasion, but not their assault, as we'd very quickly see. Coming into the events of the movie's sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, here she can be seen joining her Earthrealm allies in their victory, before they are then interrupted by Shao Kahn, seeking to conquer Earthrealm by more direct means, and having resurrected Kitana's mother, Sindel, which of course does give us this line.
Mother, you're alive.
Too bad you will die.
Tragically, in this ever-explosive confrontation, Johnny Cage would die, and a countdown clock would begin on Earthrealm's demise. Reeling from this attack, they would retreat, with Kitana naturally distraught from her mother's restoration, puzzled as to how something like this was possible, because the tournament was won, the onslaught should not be happening. With little to no real answers, Raiden believes that the Empress's return was the key to all of this, granting them access to new portals, gateways, and opportunities. With little to no time to breathe nor mourn, Kitana and Liu Kang would be dispatched in order to hunt down Nightwolf, someone whose knowledge and strength could be pivotal in their battle against Outworld. But in the midst of their pursuit, when they share a brief romantic moment, they would be attacked by a cyberized Smoke and the Lin Kuei, having aligned with the Emperor appointed to capture the princess. So Liu would deal with the cyborg, whilst the princess overwhelms the ninjas. And it does seem to be an even-sided affair until Sub-Zero appears, freezing the cyborg and also looking to protect the princess. And whilst his company is most certainly welcome, his appearance does attract the attention of the Hell Spectre, Scorpion, having nearly killed the Cryomancer and then kidnapped the princess once they let their guard down. From this point, Kitana would be captured and sealed away deep within Outworld as a prisoner forced to watch Khan's conquest. Fortunately, much later, she is rescued by Liu, and once regrouped with her allies, does attempt to free her mother from the Khan's influence, being told that the princess's love may be what is needed in order to restore her mother. Yet it's in this moment where they come to realize this has all been a fruitless endeavor, something intentionally done to run down the clock. With no other options left, a direct confrontation against Shao is all they can do. So Kitana would be pitted against her mother, with the worlds colliding together. It's only upon the defeat of both the Empress and Emperor to which the Khan's influence is finally severed, reuniting the two together after having been torn apart. So as a well-deserved thank you to Liu Kang, they would share a very brief kiss, marking an end to this particular timeline. Now, a somewhat honourable mention here would actually be the 2021 movie, because while she herself isn't present, we do have a clear sign and indication that she does exist in the present, as a fan of hers can be found in Earthrealm's stronghold, and Melina's own inclusion does kind of imply that she exists here. And as of making this video, whilst we don't have a full costume shot of her inclusion in the next installment, it has been confirmed that she will be present and portrayed by Adeline Rudolph. As for how much of an impact she does have in the overall film, we simply don't know right now. So this does now take us onto the Machinima Online webisode series, Mortal Kombat Legacy. And Legacy itself is an interesting take on the series, taking a very dark and somewhat grounded approach with how it told its character origins and stories. However, the main exception here would actually be Melina and Kitana. actually having us see things we've never seen before. Because unlike other depictions where we only encounter Kitana during the tournament, here we get a real opportunity to explore the character's childhood, as well as the young years of both Kitana and Mileena, with this depiction of the two having been raised alongside each other in the care of the Emperor. We get to see them train and work together, but in typical Shao nature, he would play the sisters against one another, preying on Mileena's inferiority complex in order to draw out her Tarkatan bloodlusts. Because of this, a rift of sorts would open up between the sisters, with Kitana largely seen as the superior of the two. However, what sows her own division with the Emperor is when the two are sent out on assassination missions to hunt down those that contest the throne, more specifically, an individual known as King Jared. And whilst he falls to Mileena's hand, it's in the middle of this mission where she comes to learn the truth of her heritage and her bloodline, what became of the fate of her people in Outworld. And we would see this be fully capitalized on in season 2 of the series, where the bond between sisters would finally implode. With this season having a focus on the Mortal Kombat tournament, Kitana would actually be responsible for saving Johnny Cage from Mileena's cruelty, causing the two to battle, with Mileena actually having the upper hand until the actor intervenes himself, giving the time and opportunity the princess needs in order to kill her sister. Now, unfortunately, due to Legacy only having 2 seasons, this does actually mark an end to this tale for Kitana, as she's sadly not seen for the remainder of this saga. Moving on, we do now have the more animated side of the series, Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. And this continuity is a particularly unique one, taking place during the events of MK3, but also blending the story elements of the 95 movie. And although she's not the center focus of the show, she would have 3 episodes that revolve around her, ones that noticeably expand on her background and origin in a pretty monumentous way. Whilst we do have the norms of Edenya's fall and her parents' demise, we would learn that her combat skills would be taught to her by an outworlder known as Ramath, someone who essentially filled in that father figure role to her following Jared's death. And with he himself despising the Emperor, the two would actually lead a rebellion against him, only to be betrayed by one of their own, Zara, something that would lead to his own death. Alongside this, we also do come to learn that at some point in time, she did share a romantic relationship with Rain, and was even at one point engaged to him, until he apparently dies. It's only up until the events of Defenders of the Realm itself, where the two are reunited in a very awkward love triangle with Liu Kang. And it's here where we learn that Rain is still fighting the good fight against the Emperor, seeking out a legendary scimitar in the hopes of preventing it from falling into the Emperor's hand, as it's believed to be designed to kill anyone that it touches. So with such a prevalent threat before them, the Earthrealm defenders would immediately set off to hunt down this scimitar, only to learn that it was all but a ploy. Rain had been working alongside the Emperor and would kidnap the princess. It's only once Liu Kang appears to which she is freed, and then goes on to defeat her ex-fiancé, marking an end to whatever relationship they had. And later on in the series, she would actually cross paths with Zara once more, with the Amazon in pursuit of 2 legendary blades, ones that could tear holes in reality and allow its wielder to transverse to any realm possible. Seeing the threat that such a weapon would pose, Kitana would defeat the Amazon and cast the twin blades into a random portal, forever now lost to that of the Abyss. Now Kitana's last and final appearance would be during the show's finale, where she'd lead a siege against Shao Kahn, looking to dethrone the Emperor and take back her birthright, even going so far as to forge a temporary alliance with that of Shiva and the Shogun. However, it's during the final battle where the odds would very quickly spiral out of their favour, being revealed that Shiva was merely Shang Tsung in disguise, orchestrating it all in plain sight. But Kitana was no fool to such antics, and whilst they were on the back foot, they were not out the fight, with the princess being able to taunt the centaurs into battling the Shogun, causing anarchy and chaos to erupt amongst Shao's forces. So in the show's finale, whilst they are not able to make Shao submit, they are able to walk away alive, with a romance blossoming between that of Liu Kang and Kitana. Shuffling onto the more animated movie side of things, we do now have Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, which ever so loosely retells the events of the first tournament, while simultaneously drawing some influence from the '95 movie, with it all largely playing out in the same fashion. And Kitana plays an incredibly small role in this film, largely acting on behalf of Shao Kahn, being one of his enforcers in their conquest against Earthrealm. And during the tournament opening stages, Kitana's first opponent would be that of Liu Kang. And for the most part, she does put up an incredibly formidable fight, yet is outmatched and outclassed by the Shaolin's talents, with Liu himself wishing her to concede as he doesn't want to hurt her. And it's here where we do get a bit of an understanding of this approach to Kitana, as while she is loyal to the Emperor, there is a lot of disdain towards him, seemingly being very aware of what Shao had done to her people. So she does secretly hope for Liu Kang's victory. Now, following her departure here, she's not seen for the rest of this movie or tournament, only returning in the movie's sequel, Mortal Kombat Battle of the Realms. And to coincide with elements from MK2, she can be seen extremely early on, leading the charge against Earthrealm, orchestrating her troops to crush the Wuxi Academy, only to then be interrupted by Johnny Cage, who does give them a chance to surrender. And believing him to be delusional, they would attack, only to be met by his fellow Earthrealm defenders. Well, of course, a massive battle would erupt, with Liu Kang confronting Kitana once more. This skirmish though would not last very long, as the arrival of Shao Kahn would more or less halt the battle, where he offers Earthrealm a final ultimatum, a final tournament between both sides that would take place on his home turf. If he was to win, he would claim Earthrealm, but if they were to lose, then he would never again threaten them. Whilst this offer seemed too good to be true in many ways, it wasn't an offer they could decline, so a second tournament would commence in Outworld, with the princess battling Liu Kang's mentor, a now mortal Raiden. And here she absolutely does not hold back at all, besting him very swiftly in combat, but stops just before she can kill him. With her back turned to the Emperor, she would decide to catch him by surprise, and throw one of her daggers deep into his heart, seemingly killing him. But of course, this was all but a ploy from the Emperor, having been well aware of Kitana's treachery and deceit. Displeased by his daughter, the Emperor would beat her into a bloodied state and hang her from the pillars of the arena, forced to watch yet another world be conquered in her lifetime. And this madness would only be halted by the likes of Liu Kang. Yet such a battle was far from over, because in the background of this tournament, the mad elder god Shinnok had become a vessel for the One Being, the grand deity of all gods and progenitor of the realms themselves. Once they slowly merged back into one, he would return. So it's here where Liu Kang would be forced to become the champion of the elder gods and collide with the titanic beast, with Kitana herself actually helping out during this massive chaotic battle. And eventually, the One Being is defeated and reabsorbed by Liu Kang, restoring the realms to their natural state and allowing Edenia to return back to its natural form. Here, the two embrace and share a kiss, marking a true and canonical end to this continuity and the final segment to this video. So with that said everyone, I do hope you have enjoyed this episode and deep dive lore analysis of Kitana. I gotta say that of all the multiverse episodes I've covered, I'm genuinely very surprised at how much of the story for the most part has largely remained the same. But I do suppose that is both the beauty and tragedy of Kitana's character. She's a war-born child, raised by a tyrant to be nothing more than a puppet, the unfortunate one and only constant across each and every reality, which I suppose makes that relationship with Liu Kang that much more special, as he doesn't see the princess as someone that was fashioned into a weapon, merely someone misguided by a puppeteer. So with that in mind, I do relay the question to all of you of, what was your favourite depiction of the character, whether that be game, movie, or film? Please do comment down below, as I'd love to hear what you have to say. But for now everyone, that's been it for me. And if you do have any suggestions for next week's episode, please put them down below, as I'm possibly considering to do a double whammy with Noob Cybots for Friday and Shang Tsung for Sunday. But again everyone, please do let me know. So until the next one, stay strong, stay well, and I'll catch you in the next one.